I have been sent a ludicrously expensive and complex watch winder because they wanted promotion and I like free stuff. So this right here is the Metellus Gravity Furnace, and it's going to cost around $600 when it first comes out, and I believe it's going to be released on Kickstarter first, and then it's going to be sold for about $800 after that on their website. So if you want to find out about this thing and you want to read up about it, maybe you want to purchase one, I'll leave all of the links in the description below. So let's take a look at what we've got. So we've got a power supply, and then we've got some feet. Now, this is where this thing does get really quite interesting. It's quite customizable. You know how people are into Gundam? You know, the little sort of statues and stuff? If you have a lot of money and you are into Gundam and you like your watch being wound, this is going to be for you because this kind of combines all of those things together. It weighs a ton. Look at this thing. I am honestly not sure how I'm even going to be able to film this. It looks like the head of a transformer or some sort of cyborg robot cyclops. It's absolutely mental, and it seriously weighs so much. I'm fairly certain that the majority of this is made out of metal. Yep, it is. The majority of it is made out of metal, but also whatever is going on inside weighs an absolute ton. Really solid rubber foot. Or you can put some feet on it. You can stick 4 little feet on it. That makes it kind of more secure as well because it can't now roll anywhere. So that's quite nice. And you've also got these little metal pieces which stick into the top so that you can have little other bits that come off it. But let's try and talk about the product first. Obviously, I've mentioned the extremely rugged build. It's just got such an industrial look to it, and it really does weigh a ton. I'll put up on the screen right now how much it actually weighs. It doesn't weigh a ton, but it weighs a lot. We've got a couple of ports coming out of the top for USB-C. I absolutely hate the fact that they stick out like that. What is that? That's presumably going to be to like charge your phone and stuff, which I suppose is quite good, but they do currently stick out. Now, I should mention that mine is kind of like a prototype, and I believe I'm actually the first YouTuber to review this, but yeah, hopefully in the final one, they'll find a way to just, you know, move those down a tiny bit so that they're sitting flush, because no one wants to see that. That doesn't look very good. But let's just give them the benefit of the doubt and say that given how well the rest of this product is made, that probably won't stay exactly like that. So let's have a look at the 2 things that you're going to interact with frequently. The first one is the door. This genuinely looks like a blast door or something that like a scuba diver would have. You know, like look at that. That is some insanely industrial door right there. Now, the one thing that I will say is it is so rugged and it is so robust that it is quite hard to open. And there isn't like a button that kind of ejects it. You have to just get your thumb under there and get that up. So it is quite tough. And then inside is where you will place your watch. So I'm sure most people are going to know what a watch winder is, but it is quite self-explanatory. You put a watch in it and it winds it, and there's various reasons why you'd want to do that, but one very, very obvious one is that it just keeps it wound. And for Seikos, a lot of vintage Seikos don't have manual wind, so the only way to actually give this like full power is to wear it. So this is spring loaded, which is quite nice. So by keeping it in the watch winder, it means it's kind of always ready to go, and it's going to have a fully stocked power reserve, but it's also going to be continuing to tell the right time. And also for these older vintage watches, it's not good for the lubrications to sit and not constantly keep moving, because they can sort of congeal or move, you know, out of place. So having a watch constantly be wound is a good thing when it comes to using your vintage watches, and even your modern watches as well, of course. So here's how the watch sits in there, by the way. You just place it in, and then it clicks down into place, and then you can close the door. And I mean, look at that. That, especially with the diver's watch in there, the vintage Seiko 6217, looks class. That really does look awesome. But where it gets even cooler is this flap. And in there is a screen. So let me go ahead and plug this in. Boom. We've got blue lights. We've got blue lights. Oh my goodness me, this weighs so much and it's impossible to film. Okay, so we've got some blue lights. Is the screen on? It is on. Wow, okay. Let's start by just pressing these two buttons. So there's only two buttons on this whole thing. So what happens if we press this one? It starts spinning. Look at that. Oh man. Now obviously this company is not the first company to make a watch winder. I'm sure they're the first company to make something as mental and robotic and as industrial as this. And that is obviously going to be personal preference. You can buy nice wooden ones on Amazon for very cheap. But if you want this, this is the only place that does it. And I had a little look, and there are lots of companies that have watch winders with various controls on them, but not many watch winders have an entire control panel with software on there. So let's go ahead and take the protective film off. This is, of course, a touch screen. Now, unfortunately, I started experiencing a few problems, making it quite hard to do a live review, so I'm doing a voiceover here just to try and clear things up. It has some spelling mistakes and some terminology which isn't explained anywhere, so here we go. Ultimately, the key feature of this watch winder is the ability to have full control over the winding of the watch. The first option on the screen is just a simple one for the average person. It lets you choose whether you're wearing the watch daily, weekly, or hardly. Except they've spelt daily, durly, and hardly, hurdly. I mean, that is embarrassing. This thing is too expensive to have spelling mistakes like this, so I hope they sort that out. So putting the watch in and pressing daily will keep your watch wound sufficiently for daily use, and then if you select weekly, it will keep it wound for sufficient weekly use. And then if you hardly wear your watch at all, we'll select the hardly option, and it will give you enough wind for hardly any use at all. Hope that makes sense. The next one along is the shortcut button, and that is going to be for the actual physical button on the bottom of the winder, which is right next to the power button. They've spelt button wrong again, so they need to sort that out. This is basically so you can manually control exactly what you want the winder to do. If you put a specific watch in there and then you press that shortcut button, it's gonna use those settings. So I'm not actually sure how you're supposed to know what settings to set this to for the watch that you want to wind, but I'm sure there's some expensive in particular watches which you would be able to make use of this feature for. But again, for my Seiko, I'll just be sticking with the smart option. I've got no idea what RPT means. It's nowhere in the instructions and nowhere online. Direction is obvious, and you can control the amount it rotates per day and the speed in which it does that. And then the final option is the self-winder. Why is that one there? I've got no idea. I'm assuming it's basically for if you have a watch that doesn't need daily, hardly, or weekly, and you wouldn't need to have a specific shortcut button for, but you just wanted to change the controls right there and then for a particular watch in that moment, and then you can move on with your life. And then the bottom three settings on the menu are all just to do with the settings of the actual thing itself. So the colors, the light colors rather, the time that the lights are on, and then QR codes for the manual and stuff. Now, one thing I'm a little disappointed about, I can't lie, this is just a minor little detail that I think would have been really, really nice. This has got some beautiful LEDs on it that add a real nice sort of effect to it, but there's no lights inside. And I just kind of feel like that would have been awesome if they maybe put like a ring light around the glass, you know, around the inside of the glass. I mean, I'm sure once it's on your shelf, you're going to be able to sort of see it well. But it would just make sense to me to have I'm moving this around so it's just unplugged again, but it would make sense for me to have a light just in there. So they sent mine out with a bunch of different sort of options to go on it. So there's these different color feet. So I'm sure this is something that you're going to be able to customize yourself, although I'm not entirely sure on the details, how and when, or if this is an extra thing that you have to pay for, or if you can choose what colors yours come with. I'm not 100% sure, I'm very sorry, but I'm sure it'll make sense on the website. But let's look at some of the cool things that you can get. So these are little sort of like antenna things which just press down onto the top of it. So you've got those little metal sort of stumps, and then you can add these sort of like little you know, little antenna things to the top of it, which I suppose is quite cool. Makes it look like it's a little sort of robot, I guess. And then there's also these different plates. So these are made out of metal. They weigh quite a lot. This silver one is not going to obviously look too different, so you're just going to have to unscrew this and then you can replace that out with that. But then if you want to have a sort of a different look entirely, then there's even going to be different colors of these to replace these sides, and then you'd be able to get, I suppose, the matching sort of color palette of foot, which is quite nice. I've also got some little brown antennas, you can have those instead, and then there's even replacement doors to replace on the actual door flap itself. So loads of customizable options, very cool. I think I probably like it the most without it all. I think that for me is kind of the one to go for, but it's going to be each to their own. I'm really impressed. I'm probably not exactly the right person to be buying this. I quite like the simple sort of like wooden stuff, and there's some nice cheap watch winders on Amazon, of course, but this is certainly going to be for some people. Let's face it, this loud, proud, busy thing is definitely lots of people's cup of tea, and there's no denying that. I hope you have enjoyed this video. The Metalis Gravity Furnace. What a mental thing. Thank you very much for sending it to me. Thank you very much for watching, and please let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I can't wait to hear your thoughts on this thing. And yeah, I'll catch you all in the next one. Goodbye.